House of Cards is brought to you by Drizzly, your online liquor store. Available in over 95 cities across North America, Drizzly offers a huge selection and competitive pricing with a side of personalized content. Now there's no need to leave the house. Get alcohol delivered in less than an hour by Drizzly. Head on over to drizzly.com and order today. And now get $5 off your first order of $20 or more when using promo code DRINK19 at checkout. Shop beer, wine, and liquor with drizzly.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls,
You're listening to House of Cards.
Today, the game is different.
I want to gamble. Gambling is a very serious business. Is that clear?
Welcome to House of Cards. Dave Weishautel with you here, deep from the swamps of Jersey. Got a great show coming up for you. The gambling industry is in one of its most interesting times in its history. Online casinos and online poker are breaking revenue records as people are gambling from the safety of their own homes. It's also a time when casinos and sportsbooks are developing plans to reopen safely to protect their employees and their customers. And as always, to discuss the big stories involving casinos and online gambling, we're going to talk with Adam Small from USBets.com and Better Collective. So stick around. We'll be right back with House of Cards.
Money always matters. If you owe thousands in back taxes to the IRS, how much can Tax Solutions Now save you?
I paid less than I owe.
That's right, money matters. So call Tax Solutions Now and get the IRS off your back. Since 2014, Tax Solutions Now has been a leader in the tax resolution industry. That's why we say money matters. Remove wage garnishments, property liens, fines, and penalties. Qualify for the Fresh Start program or even uncollectible status. Money matters. How much can Tax Solutions Now save you?
I owed the IRS over $10,000. I paid a fraction of what I owed.
Call now to reduce or even eliminate your back taxes.
We were being audited. We couldn't sleep. We called Tax Solutions Now.
I called Tax Solutions Now and got the IRS off my back. Thanks. You saved us a ton of money.
Money matters. How much can Tax Solutions Now save you? Call now and find out.
Call 800-297-9788. 800-297-9788.
Psst. Yeah, you. Come here. Haven't you heard? We don't need to hide anymore.
Now, we can shop privately for adult products at adamandeve.com. They've got massage oils, lingerie, and lots more we can't mention here. Use offer code SPICE404. They'll give you 50% off almost any one item, 3 free DVDs, free mystery gift, and free shipping. That's 50% off, free shipping, and more. Private shopping starts at adamandeve.com.
You're listening to House of Cards.
Where was the house? Where was the House of Cards?
Welcome back to House of Cards. Dave Weishottle with you. I don't think I'm saying anything startling when I say this is the most interesting time in the history of gambling. With the pandemic, some gaming markets have seen the rise of online casinos and poker to the point where they're breaking revenue records. This is also a time when casinos are looking to reopen in the safest way possible. And as always, to discuss the biggest topics in the gambling industry, I am joined by Adam Small from usbets.com and Better Collective. Adam, thanks for joining us.
It is great to be back. It's been a while, right?
It has been. You know, it's. I think this is the first time I'm speaking with you since the pandemic hit and the casinos were shut down. And it seems like I'm asking everyone this, but I want to ask you. I want to get your opinion on what's going on in the gambling industry. Have you ever seen anything like this? Is there anything comparable to what happened in the gambling industry these past couple of months?
No, and I mean, you can ask the same question about pretty much anything in life right now.
Yeah.
Gambling, industry, personal relationships, school, every aspect of everything is different for us than it's ever been before this year. And in gambling, just because that's kind of like the center of our universe, at least work-wise, it's been really interesting to see because all the brick and mortar stuff is shut down, and it makes a lot of sense that it's shut down. The brick and mortar foot traffic skews older, especially in a lot of places around the country, local casinos and stuff like that. And those are the people that are most at risk. You're inside a building. There's a lot of people touching the same things as each other, and it's just the casino is kind of a nightmare for this whole situation. So you can really see why casinos in particular were hit so hard. On the other hand, at least in the non-sports related aspects of online gambling, there's been an uptick, a significant uptick of online poker play, online casino play, and we've seen online poker grow by just a massive amount, more than doubling in traffic in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and also on sites that are accessible in other parts of the world. So it's been interesting to see, I guess, how people have been spending their time when they're at home. It's kind of surprised me some, just because I think about people like me that I don't have any extra time to play online poker right now. I'm in a house with 3 kids and a wife right now. We're just trying to survive and figure out a way to get through our days. But I guess for younger people or people without kids or whatever that have a little more time on their hands and I guess still have income, gambling online might be one of many ways to pass the time, right?
Yeah, I got to tell you, what surprised me, I mean, I read usbets.com, njonlinegambling.com, penbets.com, centennialbets.com. I read all, I guess they're still called periodicals. I don't know what they're called, but they're all great resources. And I was surprised to see the amazing amount of business activity that the casinos and the sports books were conducting during the shutdown. I mean, even beyond the gambling aspect of it. I mean, Borgata has a new president. Bally's, Atlantic City was sold. Colorado started sports betting. I mean, certainly their business goes on. Did they take care of some important internal business for their establishments and the states during this lockdown?
I think they have. I mean, I think that there's an expression in government that is not something politicians want to be heard saying out loud, but the never let a crisis go to waste. Looking for opportunities to make sort of bigger changes that might be harder to pull off politically during normal times. But they can use a crisis as cover to make these things happen, whether it's cutting costs or making staff changes or making big policy changes or whatnot. And I think the same thing applies in business. I think that sometimes companies want to sort of modernize certain parts of their staff. That's kind of a neutral word. And what I mean, of course, is replacing people or getting rid of certain departments or people or bringing in new people, whatever it is. I think that sometimes it's hard to do just in normal circumstances because you scare the crap out of your entire workforce when you're making big changes and people might freak out and start putting their resume out there or whatever else, or lose their motivation. But I think during a crisis, the companies have had to act fast and be nimble. And part of that has been thinking long term about what they want their team to look like. And so, you've seen a variety of types of action taken. I mean, look in the case of a company like MGM has furloughed or let go all kinds of people. And that's, largely brick and mortar employees. But then you look at a company like William Hill that, at least in the U.S., is a lot of online people, and people have been getting let go and furloughed, and not just people that work brick and mortar. It's been some interactive people as well. I've heard the same thing at a number of other operators. Parks is another one that comes to mind that I know let go some interactive people. And so there's been companies taking the opportunity to change their teams up, bring in new people, get rid of old people, and just do some restructuring. And, we've seen it all around. We've been really lucky at my company, Better Collective Tennessee. We haven't had to do any layoffs or furloughs or anything like that to date. And assuming that sports come back pretty soon, we're going to have our entire team intact, and be really strong and prepared for what's coming next.
Okay, hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break. See you on the other side.
Credit card debt can ruin your life. If you owe $10,000 and minimum payments are siphoning away your paycheck each month, you can get debt-free in less time than you think.
I've paid $800 a month for the past 3 years and haven't changed the balance on my credit card.
Get debt-free now has a program to reduce your debt, stop the harassing phone calls, avoid financial ruin, and settle for less than you owe.
I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders.
You're pre-approved for our special hardship program if you owe $10,000 or more. Upon payment of your new lower balance, your debt will finally shrink until you are debt-free.
My family no longer has 30 years of payments ahead of us at 20% interest.
There's no fees until you see results. So call now, make one monthly program payment, and free up your cash. Resolve your debt.
Call 800-515-1558. 800-515-1558.
You're listening to House of Cards. Check out our website at houseofcardsradio.com.
Welcome back to House of Cards. Dave Weishuttle with you. For those of you just joining us, I am talking with Adam Small from usbets.com and Better Collective. The state gaming commissions have consistently put out their numbers during this pandemic, which has been a really depressing read. I actually forgot in March there was like a week when casinos were actually still open, but I know the month of April, all casinos were shut down for the entire month, so There was zero revenue there. I'm assuming May will look just as bad. How long can the casino industry in this country go on like this? Are we at the breaking point right now, or is there some wiggle room? Do they have to reopen in some fashion pretty soon?
I think we're at the breaking point. We're close. It was really unfortunate that the CARES Act that was passed by Congress that provided more than $2 trillion in funding for a lot of things, but a big part of it was funding for businesses to maintain their payrolls, to not cut staff even in the face of lost revenue. That it was exclusively written into the rules, as I understood it, that gaming business or gambling business was excluded. Mm-hmm. And later on, some of that was redone a little bit, but still, it seems like for some reason our industry was singled out and didn't get as much aid as others. And I know that, while maybe the general public doesn't have a lot of sympathy for casinos and for gambling business in general, that's still hundreds of thousands of jobs around the country, if not millions, that are put further at risk. And those are still people that are, just normal people that work in the industry that are going to be put out there on the street or put on unemployment or, just forced to fend for themselves. And that's really unfortunate this time. I do think that we're reaching a breaking point, and I also think it's going to be dealt with because I think, by the beginning of June, most of the casinos are going to be starting to find ways to at least partially reopen. There are already a few that have reopened. It doesn't seem like, to me personally, I don't really feel like being in a casino now or anytime soon. And same thing about conferences. You know, I go to a lot of conferences. You guys, you and I met in person at a conference a couple of years ago. But I just, I don't have any desire to be in a place like G2E in Las Vegas with thousands of other people all kind of, using the same tables one after the other. And I don't know, maybe by next year I'll be more comfortable with it, but it's going to be a while. And I know that's a huge part of people think of Las Vegas, they think of gambling, but at least in Vegas, maybe not in casinos around the country, Vegas is a convention place, and Atlantic City is in some ways too. I mean, these are places where people congregate for a wide variety of reasons beyond just gambling and entertainment. And a lot of that stuff is it's all like huge crowds of people all in the same places all the time. And that's just not going to work out for a little while. So I think, everything could be back, but everything won't really be back, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I got to ask you, you brought it up, and were you shocked that the gambling institutions were not included in the stimulus packages? Because I was thinking, you know what, the president used to own casinos, so I'm figuring, there's going to be something for the gambling industry. Were you surprised that they were excluded?
Well, not in any relation to anything regarding the president or anything like that. But I was surprised.
I'm surprised by a lot of things he does. So I don't know.
I think that's the point a lot of the time. Yeah. But I wasn't because of him specifically. I was surprised because it just seemed like a very odd singling out.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why, politically why it was necessary to take a couple of industries and exclude them. I do understand, again, the general lack of sympathy towards the industry.
Sure.
I understand the general lack of sympathy towards other industries, but when you're bailing out industry and businesses, a lot of that's going to be unpopular no matter what. And it doesn't mean that you got to single out certain groups. It always just feels to me like there was someone behind the scenes that wanted this to happen, that wanted certain people excluded, and were able to, exert that kind of influence over the way that the rules were put together. Because otherwise it makes no sense. I mean, people are people. You work for MGM or William Hill, or you work for Delta, or you work for Aramark, or, McKesson. I don't know. I'm just naming companies. There's so many big companies, and the people who work for them are all just the kind of people that live in my neighborhood and your neighborhood.
Sure.
And so I just don't see why you would want to put certain people's jobs at risk over other people's jobs. And that's ultimately what it came down to, because the purpose of at least the Paycheck Protection Program and a lot of other aspects of the CARES Act was just for companies to keep employees on payroll. It was an alternative to everyone going on unemployment, was, allowing companies to continue to pay their employees, and the idea that hopefully when the crisis has subsided, at least partly, that those companies will still have that staff on and won't let them all go later, that people will be able to maintain their jobs and continue to work, and that companies will still have their teams intact, and that businesses can bounce back better, because it's much easier to bounce back with your existing workforce than to have to hire a whole new team later. So all in all, I mean, that's in the point. I just don't see why that's any different with casinos than anything else.
I guess one of the bright spots, if you can call it a bright spot during this pandemic, was the rise of online casinos and online poker. I mean, overall, for the states to allow online casinos and online poker, how did they do during this quarantine?
They've done amazing. I mean, the online poker business has been the most mind-boggling thing, just because online poker, at least in the U.S. since Black Friday back in 2011, when the biggest sites, which were operating outside of any sort of U.S. regulatory entity at the time, all pretty much got shut down. And this was over 9 years ago now. It's been in pretty consistent decline in the U.S. There are still a few offshore operators, but at least a legal regulated industry that launched in New Jersey a few years ago and in Pennsylvania late last year. They've been pretty small and inconsequential in terms of the overall revenue picture and in terms of traffic and growth and publicity and so on and so forth. It's just been not a big part of the story lately. And that's really changed lately. I don't know if it's just that people who are into other things like sports or whatever, or who are stuck in their houses, just don't have as much to do, so they've picked up poker. I'm sure it's partly that, but I think partly just people have rediscovered poker and have been enjoying it and getting into it. And I really hope that momentum goes on. I mean, the revenue numbers were pretty impressive. And then you mentioned online casino, which is an area that we cover a lot in our business and follow closely. I mean, like 64.8 million just in New Jersey in the month of March, and even more in April. I mean, look, these are crazy numbers. You look at April was 80 million for online casino. April of 2019 was 36.6 million. Now, when we started NJOnlineGambling.com, we were looking for the first $25 million month for the New Jersey online casino industry. I mean, 25 million seemed like a big number. That was like the industry finally making it. Now we're talking about $80 million in a single month. That's close to a projected $1 billion year. If you project that out over an entire year, that would bring you to just under $1 billion in online casino revenue in one state with an average population. So that's a pretty incredible result. Now, we don't expect it to stay that high post-pandemic, but it's not going to go all the way back down either. And this is a big industry. This is propping up Atlantic City right now. If you got $80 million in a month coming in from online casino revenue, whereas you had zero coming in from land-based casinos, it doesn't make up for the entire 200 million or so that land-based were doing in a month, before the pandemic. But it's still, it makes up a significant portion of revenue and keeps you in business.
We'll be right back with House of Cards.
I love getting my kids ready and driving them to school.
But a careless driver can change your life in an instant. And insurance companies want to settle on the cheap. Auto Accident Help Desk connects victims with powerful lawyers. They fight for you.
I called Auto Accident Help Desk and got help for my pain and suffering.
Don't let an insurance company take advantage of you. Our attorneys fight and beat big insurance every day. If you've been injured in an automobile accident in the last 6 months, you owe it to yourself to make this free call with no obligation.
When I called, they asked me a few questions and matched me with a powerful lawyer who knew how to fight for me.
Call now. We're available 24/7 to help you get the money you deserve for your pain and suffering.
They got me way more than the insurance company offered.
Auto Accident Help Desk helps accident victims like you every day.
Call 800-613-4611. 800-613-4611. 800-613-4611.
Hey, this is Dave Weishottle from House of Cards with your House of Cards gaming report for the week of May 25th, 2020. The online poker industry in New Jersey has set a revenue record for the month of April. The online poker sites in the Garden State generated over $5.1 million during this past April, shattering the record of over $3.6 million, which was set only a month before in March. New Jersey is only one of 3 states which has legalized online poker, the other 2 states being Nevada and Pennsylvania. Wynn Resorts has released its plan for reopening its U.S. properties, and those plans do not include poker. Wynn has stated that poker will not be allowed in Phase 1 of the reopening of the Wynn Casino and the Encore on the Las Vegas Strip, as well as the Encore Boston Harbor Casino in Massachusetts. Wynn has also stated that the craps tables at the Encore Boston Casino will be moved to the property's high roller area. And finally, it's been 2 years since the U.S. Supreme Court decision allowing sports betting in the United States. Since those 2 years, 22 states have some form of legalized sports betting. Almost $22 billion has been bet, resulting in $1.5 billion in revenue to those states. It's been an interesting 2 years. Have any news or tips regarding casinos, gaming, or legislation? Send us an email at newsroom@houseofcardsradio.com and follow us on Twitter at HOC Radio.
You're listening to House of Cards.
I'll bet you $20 I can get you gambling before the end of the day. No way. I'll give you 3-1 odds. No. 5-1. No. 10-1. You're on.
Welcome back to House of Cards. Dave Weishottle with you. For those of you just joining us, I am talking with Adam Small from USBets.com and Better Collective. I gotta tell you, I'm sitting here in New Jersey and I am amazed at the amount of television commercials for online casinos. I mean, Betfair is huge, Play MGM, Golden Nugget, and I'm talking about 2 to 3 times an hour. I mean, certainly you said this is going to change after the pandemic, but do you think their marketing approach to these online casinos will continue even after the retail casinos open? Because I'm shocked at the amount of advertising they're doing on television.
Well, I think that there's a couple of ways to answer this question and a couple of things that are relevant here. There's always hot and cold periods when it comes to advertising online casino. You'll see a company like Betfair or Golden Nugget come out with a big spend for a month or two where they're on TV a lot. I've seen this in my vacations up to the Jersey Shore where I'd be up there and see a Betfair commercial every 10 minutes on TV or whatever. But they do it off and on, and I think they'll continue to do it off and on. But that being said, I think eyes have been opened on the business side that this is more important than maybe they were treating it before. Mm-hmm. And this dates back for me to 2014 when I went to Borgata right after the industry had launched. It was January of 2014. And I got to visit their online casino and iGaming office. And it was just this tiny little office in the basement with like 10 employees in there. And they were really, I mean, this was at the time, this was the biggest legal U.S. online poker room, and they were, starting to do a lot with casino and everything too. And they had less than 10 people on their entire team. They just didn't care. Like these guys were not considered important, and what they were doing was not considered important. And you fast forward a few years, and most of that team's been overhauled. There's now a company called Roar Digital that handles the marketing aspects of Borgata and MGM's online gaming brands, which include BetMGM for sports and casino, Party Poker for poker, and it just in the state of New Jersey, the Borgata online brands. And these guys, this is a serious marketing effort being put in now, serious integration between MGM and GVC in Europe. And they're very serious about being one of the top online brands in the U.S. They're spending a lot of money. They have major revenue projections and big ambitions. And definitely, I think you'll see this industry-wide that companies are not just going to back away after all this. There's going to be a concerted effort to be a big player in this, and people are going to be looking at online gaming as a major future part of their plans.
I got to tell you, I've talked to a lot of people around the state, and what's happened with the online casinos and online poker is we talked about it off air. People get into a routine. People start setting aside time to go online, whether it be the play games, and people use the chat rooms also to keep in touch with other people around the state that they're playing games with. So I guess the trick now is, do you think these online casinos and online poker sites can actually keep these players that are using their site every day?
Well, I certainly think some of them will be staying, some of the players, that is. And I think it's going to depend on who the operator is in terms of just how much importance they put on this. You've got a variety of companies with kind of different product lines and different goals. If you look at a company like Stars Group, which is now merged with Flutter, and just to back up a second, Flutter is the company that owns Betfair, that owns FanDuel, that owns TVG, which is one of the biggest sports or horse racing operators. So they've got a number of brands. And then Stars Group has Poker Stars, and now Fox Bet for sports betting. And Poker Stars Casino, and has some major international brands as well. These guys are going to place a lot of importance on maintaining that base of poker players. They're going to be trying to convert them into sports bettors and other types of gamblers and their other products. Maybe trying to get them over into FanDuel and doing sports related stuff there. But these guys are going to place a major importance on retaining those poker players. Other companies, I think, that are more focused primarily on casino or on sports are going to look at it differently. But I think that what usually happens in these times, and what's likely to happen, is that the biggest winners from these times and the market leaders overall will just get stronger. Golden Nugget will be a stronger market leader in online casino. PokerStars will be a stronger market leader in online poker. And for sports betting, when all is said and done, I think FanDuel and DraftKings are in a pretty good spot.
Let me ask you about these online poker sites. A couple of times I went to WSOP.com because every afternoon they have a 3 o'clock free roll. And not only people in New Jersey are playing, but I've seen people in Vegas. I've seen players from Reno also during the tournament. And at one point and one day, they had almost 700 players in this tournament for a midday tournament, which was incredible. And that's not only true for WSOP. I know PokerStars in Pennsylvania have record prize pools. WPT and Party Poker did a deal for an online series. I mean, I talked to the president, Adam Pliska from WPT, and he called it an online poker festival. Do you think they're going to continue using these events to maintain the players that they have now? Do you see them doing more of these online events, more of these online spectacles? I know one of the marketers called it, but is that the way they're going to keep the players after the pandemic lifts?
Well, I certainly think they should. It's going to vary a lot. I think that, being in New Jersey, you're seeing the way things play out in the state where you get a wide variety of product lines available online. And it's going to depend largely on what state you're in for stuff like that. But I certainly think that in New Jersey and Pennsylvania and Michigan soon, when everything launches there, that they should be doing it that way, because poker is a great thing for getting eyeballs on you. It's much easier to promote than a lot of other forms of gambling because there's a community aspect of it. Players can legitimately become star players and winning players by working hard. It's something that people can succeed in and that people sort of have a lot of aspiration around, which makes it different than, for the most part, sports betting and online casino play. And it's kind of the same way that FanDuel and DraftKings can continue to push DFS products, even though those are probably never going to be particularly profitable, if profitable at all for them. That these are aspirational games that a lot of people win at or believe that they can win at, and it's easier to talk about them and promote them and build community around them than it is to do the same with single game wagering and things like that. So I do think that these companies, especially the ones that don't have other strong options for building community and for building out these spectacles, as you put it, I think they should keep pushing poker where they can, and I think they will. I don't think it's going to be quite as obvious or pronounced because there's just a lot more noise most of the time. It's a lot more noise when sports are going on and when everyone's kind of going about their normal business, and maybe we won't notice as much, but I really would be shocked if this stuff went away entirely.
Well, you mentioned it. Pennsylvania and New Jersey have online casinos, online poker, and online sports betting. I've been talking to a lot of industry people from around the country, and they all said that they wish they had that safety net for the gaming industry in their state. Do you see that this present situation could change the mind of lawmakers around the country and allow online casinos and online sports betting in more states?
Well, I don't even think it's so much about changing lawmakers' opinions. I think lawmakers, at least most of these state lawmakers, are kind of doing what they're told by the interest groups around their states that have built relationships with the state legislators and with regulators and so on and so forth. And so we still have the same issues in a lot of states. There are tribal compacts and constitutional amendments about gambling and just all these different things that in each state make it a unique battle to get iGaming or sports betting or anything like that legalized. And it's the reason that, despite protestations and people's beliefs about what should and shouldn't be legal, it's not very likely that you're going to have widespread online poker in 25 states anytime soon, or that New York and California or the federal government are going to come in and legalize just because of this situation, because it's a lot more complicated than that. But what I do think is going to happen is that the gaming industry is probably going to coalesce a bit more around a broader range of iGaming legalization. And I mean by that in a state like Indiana, where it makes all the sense in the world to have more than just sports betting, that I could see them revisiting what they've done there and trying to do something more like what Michigan's done, where they've legalized sports betting, online gambling via casinos and poker, or, West Virginia's done the same thing. Pennsylvania and New Jersey have done the same thing. They haven't all done it the exact same way as each other in terms of taxation and regulation and all that, but they all have come around on a full suite of online gambling options. And it just, to me, in a state like Indiana or Iowa or Colorado at some point in the future, it just makes sense to me that people would at least be paying attention to what's going on in New Jersey and Pennsylvania right now and rethinking why they, singled out a product like sports betting and didn't get into these other areas.
Speaking of laws and sports betting, I hope they do away with one stupid regulation, and that is if you want to register for a mobile sportsbook, you have to go to the physical sportsbook to finish your registration process, because that's just ridiculous what's happening in Las Vegas and Reno, that they have to do drive-through registrations for their mobile sportsbooks.
I've been seeing that stuff on Twitter. People have been posting pictures. It's like a red box for registering for online gaming. Yeah, the stupidest thing in the world. You're registering for an online product, and you show up at like a kiosk just to like complete your registration. Just so it's so dumb and so outdated. And there's no like public value to doing it this way. It only exists because certain interest groups are scared for competitive reasons about it being done another way, and are kind of standing in the way of change. And it needs to go away. It's very clear that it serves no useful purpose to the public, and that it's creating, an additional germ spreading opportunity for people that people probably just don't want to tolerate right now.
Okay, hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break. See you on the other side.
Yeah, you, come here. Haven't you heard? We don't need to hide anymore.
Now, we can shop privately for adult products at adamandeve.com. They've got massage oils, lingerie, and lots more we can't mention here. Use offer code SPICE404. They'll give you 50% off almost any one item, 3 free DVDs, free mystery gift, and free shipping. That's 50% off, free shipping, and more. Private shopping starts at adamandeve.com.
We like to think that we live in a nice, safe neighborhood. The truth is that a burglary occurs every 13 seconds, and homes without a security system have a 300% greater chance of getting broken into. How many homes in your neighborhood were robbed yesterday? You need to start protecting your home and family today. Call now to get state-of-the-art protection. To keep your family and property safe, call the number on your screen now. Representatives are standing by to assist you.
You're listening to House of Cards.
The answer is probably. We're finished.
What are the odds? 1 in 100?
I don't do odds. I gave very detailed.
Casinos, sir.
Welcome back to House of Cards. Dave Weishaupt with you here. For those of you just joining us, I am talking with Adam Small from USBets.com and Better Collective. You know, as we speak right now, casinos are developing plans for their reopenings and developing ways to safely welcome back guests. What do you think we can expect from this reopening? Will casinos do it in phases? Will some just open slot machines? I know Wynn just came out with one of their recommendations that they're going to open up their properties, but they're not going to have poker in it. What can we expect to see from these casinos?
Just mentioning poker there at the end. I mean, poker is a tough one because people pass chips around from player to player, and there's just so much opportunity for spreading. People are sitting close together, and it seems like a particularly difficult thing to make work right now. What are you going to do? Like, after people put all the chips in the pot, before you push it to players, spray a bunch of white vinegar or hand sanitizer, or whatever, Clorox into the middle, and splash around on all the chips before you push the pot every time. It's just it's not going to work. So I think that there's going to be a bunch of stuff like that is much slower to get going. Maybe something like blackjack could work better. Maybe there's some company working behind the scenes on like chip washing technology or something like that. We get chip washers at every table. Instead of having those racks in the middle of the blackjack table, you just stick all the chips in the chip washer, and they just keep kind of coming out like the way the automatic card shufflers do. I mean, what if get all the speed up?
Let me tell you something. It's funny you should mention that. I'm a gaming attorney, and I got to tell you, the last couple of weeks, I have reviewed and drafted contracts I never thought I'd do. We've had purchase order for masks, and you mentioned chip cleaning. We just did a contract for a system casinos use to clean and sanitize gaming chips. So they are going through that. It's just absolutely amazing. I never thought I'd even look at contracts like that. But in your opinion, how long do you think we're going to have to do this?
Nobody knows. I'm far from a medical expert or anything like that, but I feel like nobody knows how long the situation is going to go on. And I think everything largely depends on public behavior. I think that we have, a lot of conflicting views of government and of media and of just various kind of authorities that are out there that probably people in mass are going to have a hard time agreeing on, who's right or, who to listen to or whatever. But at the end of the day, everything's going to depend largely on behavior. And I think that's what you mentioned, opening in phases. I think the casinos will open in phases, and I think they're going to have a lot of protective measures in place, whether it's social distancing requirements or sanitation rules or, procedures that were different, like the chip washing or whatever. But what's really going to impact the speed of the reopening and how those phases play out is how people respond to it all. And I think that's what probably the brass at these big casino companies what they're trying to figure out is, if we do this, what will people do? And if we do this, what will people do? And trying to arrange this in a way that brings people back as soon as possible and as comfortably as possible. And I think that's just I know that's kind of like running around and not really giving an answer, but that's what I believe. I think they're going to be trying to do it in a way that makes people comfortable, and then watch how many people come in and how people come in and what they do when they're in, and kind of keep remaking their plan and iterating on their plan in response to that until you've got, reasonable capacity happening. But I believe, full capacity in these casinos is, in my opinion, not happening until next year. There might be, I've heard people talking about pent up demand, and I believe that. I believe that, you might have a reopening and see massive crowds for a few days just because there's so many people that are like excited to get back in or to go eat a nice meal or whatever. But in terms of consistently staying at capacity, in my opinion, it's likely that it won't be till next year.
Speaking of getting people in, I know the lifeblood of any casino is seniors and older people playing their slot machines. Is it job number one of the casinos and their PR people to demonstrate to seniors that they're doing everything possible for them?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm really uncomfortable with it personally because I don't think old people should be in casinos.
Absolutely not.
Senior citizens, whatever. I think they should be staying the hell out. Like if my dad doesn't go to casinos, he doesn't gamble, but if he were a person that went and he asked me what I think, and my dad's 74 and he's got some respiratory illness history, I would be telling him no, stay the hell away.
Yeah.
I don't think senior citizens should be going in casinos right now. Certainly not people over 80, probably not people over 70, and certainly not anyone with any kind of respiratory illness or immune system issues. So it definitely, this is a big factor in all this. A huge portion of casino clientele is elderly, and they've got to figure out a way to deal with that responsibly. And I worry about that. I don't worry about it as much in Vegas, just because Vegas is built around this industry and they're so protective of what they've got. But I do worry about it a lot in other gambling destinations around the country, particularly more like local type casinos in places like Council Bluffs, Iowa, or, the middle of Pennsylvania, places like that, where it's just, you know that your clientele is built around local visitors. Most of them are older people, and they're going to be a lot of risk. And casinos, this is, in my opinion, the most challenging task right now is how to be responsible and not overdo it and not put these people at too much risk.
Adam, we're running out of time, but I want to remind everyone that they can follow these important issues in the gambling world by going to usbets.com. Adam Small from usbets.com and Better Collective, thanks for coming on and keeping us up to date about what's going on in the gambling world.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, Dave. It's always great to be on.
And that's all the time we have this week for House of Cards. See you next week.